Peter. We come from Kenya both, but we live quite like I'll say 16-hour drive. For me, I come from the southern part of Kenya. Very common people, tourists come there for beautiful beaches, but all that fun, all that life. My family was not that adequate. My mom used to stay at home with us because she never finished high school. At that time, she never went to school. My dad used to work in a high school, and at that time, money was not that enough, and he used to drink a lot. It's something that I don't really like talking about, but he never really cared about like his family. You come from work, go to drink, come in the evening, start fighting with my mom every now and then for dinner. He never provided. He never gave up money, but he wanted to eat in the evening. And it was tough for me growing up. I come from a family of four. I have two sisters and one brother. My sister was lucky. She was bright enough. She went to college. She's a teacher right now. My brother never finished high school. And right now, we're really struggling to pay for our younger sister's school fees. But nonetheless, life was difficult. If you have traveled Africa, you know Africa is very hot. And good thing for us, we are very blessed with sunshine, and it was almost 70 degrees the whole year. And the only time it rains is only like June or July. So that's the time like weather's a little bit. It's not that hot, but the whole year, if you don't have shoes to wear, you'll have sunburns on your feet. So going to school for me, it was at that time it was very difficult because we used to walk a little bit like 5 miles to school every now and then, come back home. And at that time, because Mombasa is very hot, and with hotness comes there's no water. So as soon as you come from home, you have to go down a valley, then we get water, and that was a must. If you don't do that, you won't have water to shower. You have no water to go to school the next day with. Because if you don't go with water to school, there's no water for you to drink. At school, there's no water. So I had to do that every day, and for me, life was a little bit difficult because I had to do the same thing with my brother and the same every day. And up to now, my parents live at the same place, and as soon as I visit them and they see me spilling water on the ground, they'll be, she's almost whipping me because she knows like how difficult it is to get water. And for a long time, that really didn't bother me. Going to school, walking to school, not having water, sometimes carrying our last night dinner to school, and because it's very hot, the food by the time it's lunchtime, it's already bad. So you don't get to eat lunchtime that day. You just drink water, sleep during break time, and when it's class time, you're up to you're normal, you're smiling again. But inside your stomach is really growling. But that really didn't bother me because I was with my sister, and I would look around. Pupils in my school were always the same. Life was the same for us. But with all those challenges, mostly I would say the fighting with my parents, really bothered me a lot because I never knew when is the last time my mom would get injured. When is the last time my brother would be walking out and he gets beaten up, And life was super hard. Luckily in my life, I came across the African Choir. They came to the schools, and at that time, my mom used to tell us, if you go to school, walk with your siblings or walk with your friends. So we used to walk 5 or 6 kids to go to school and come back. So at that time, I remember there was a lot of kids disappearing. So at that time, my mom was like, don't go with anybody you don't know. So these guys came to our school, and they came to our class. In our school, it was a Christian school. They told us to sing a praise song and a worship song. So these guys came at the front, and we started singing. One of the girls she was really the ones who are very motivated. She started singing. And for me, I don't know that day. I guess sometimes I said I was lucky. I was just dancing up and down, really happy, you know. This lady, she was from Canada. She put me at the front. And at that time, I was like super nervous. Why am I the first person to be picked? So I was like, no, I don't want to go there. So I went back to the group and I started like just dancing and happy jumping up and down. And she picked me again and she pulled me back to the front of the line. At that time, there was 2 or 3 guys who had been picked. And I was like, the teacher said, if you have been picked, go to the headmaster's office. So I was scared again. I knew if you go to the headmaster's office, you're in trouble. You know, either you're going home, because at that time, the list for kids going home with that school fees had not been paid. I was on the top of the list. You know, if I see the teacher coming like, "Hey Peter, you have to go home," I'm hiding under the desk so she doesn't see me, or just go to join it and sneak back to class, because I was tired of going back home. So I just knew either I'm in trouble going to the headmaster's office, or maybe it's just school fees or stuff like that. So we went there. They told us to sing a few keys. Luckily that time I had the most beautiful voice.
No longer?
I think I'm better with drumming. We sang a little bit. We went for another audition. We went to Uganda for 6 months, and we came to the US for 1 year and a half. We toured the US, which we did almost the whole of Canada, and that was the best part of my life. But also missing family at home, and you know, me thinking almost all the time about my mom and how the relationship is with my siblings, really took a big part of me. I went back home. Life had not changed a bit. My parents were staying in the same house, same living conditions, and it was a little bit difficult because I was taken to a different school, and my siblings would go to the same school, would have to go the same difficulties the whole day. And for me, I was lucky, you know. Sometimes they'll look at me and they'll say like, Peter, you just, you know, I look at them and they'll think I'm better off than them, you know. But I was also having the same challenges in school, just thinking about home. And I used to go to a boarding school, so in Kenya, boarding school is not that hard. It's not that easy, you know. If you're late for chow, you don't eat that day. We used to sit on a table of 10, and I'll tell you, if you're late, when they're praying, you don't close your eyes. If you close your eyes, by the time the guy finishes praying, everybody's taking all the food. So you have to be tough. You have to open your eyes, and as soon as like people will scram for the food, and it's not because everybody wants to scram for the food. It's not, the food is not adequate for everybody, you know. So you have to be tough, or either you have to know the big guy on the table. So you have to be friends with everybody, you know. And it took a while. It took a few months for me to realize that's how life is. And I feel as years went on, you know, you had to really be struggling and like also thinking about school, you know, thinking about your studies. Because the African Choir used to keep on check on us and like knowing how well we're doing with studies, and like trying to encourage us, because that's the main thing that like helped me and my family out of trouble, you know. Fortunately, we finished college, and the few years before I finished college, life was pretty hard, you know. High school was super difficult for us, and that's the time when Ronald and David had come to the US and had come to Kenya, and with the choir we usually have camps during December. So for us, our camps were like super easy, you know. That's when you meet the girls and like talk to girls and everything. But at that time, David would tell us, go 10 push-ups, you know. You have to make your own breakfast. And I didn't know that's the same thing people do up here. So they were trying to teach us everything they knew. That's when we learned about the philosophy, started on flavors, learned about SMIACs and everything. Ronald became my mentor during that time and really helped me with my studies, you know. At that time, I just wanted to finish high school, join my brother at home, and like we just find our way in our lives. He really pushed me in my studies, really checked on me, came to school every Saturday. And eventually I went to college. And that's when I met the general. At that time, Ronald was always talking about the general. So when he came, I was like, oh, that's the general. I want to meet him. And I was really inspired on like how mentoring, really changes people. If it was not for Ronald, maybe I would just have finished college and my life would have just been the same as my brothers. All the after Squire would have done for me would have been for granted. And that's the same situations that many kids in Africa go through. You go to college and eventually the challenges in school are more difficult than what's bringing you to school. And having a mentor in your life, somebody to check on you, somebody who's really inspired to help you in your life, somebody who's really like tirelessly calling you, even though you are not at the best situation, they're always there to pick up phone and like listen to your trouble. And up to date, I'll tell you, I talk to Ronald, I call him very frequently on Saturdays and like when I get time, and we all talk and advise each other. I'd say the African Scholar helped me, and also the African Odyssey helped me. Having somebody to lean on, it's not something that should be taken for granted. So that's my story.
Thank you.
Hoorah!